Denver Broncos Mile High View, no commercials, no bullshit. We have Colby on the line. He's in Morocco right now, and he's trying to Skype with us right now. The reason why I'm putting this together was I started going back, Colby, and looking at what they said as far as the hiring of the hiring of Vick Fangio. And I think it's important before we just toss Fangio out on his ass that we really take a look at what was going on at the time of his hiring. I also want to give links to what they said versus links to what I said. This is extremely important if we really want to know why if you don't want to repeat history, you should understand the past, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I sent you some messaging about, kind of what I was saying, what they were saying. And this whole thing centers around really was the fact that when Fangio was hired, it was the idea that Gary Kubiak was going to be the offensive coordinator. And I will let you know that I was against Gary Kubiak at that time being the offensive coordinator, thinking that his style was outdated, a little slow, this kind of thing. Had I known that where we would be with Shermer, I would certainly take Kubiak over Shermer in a heartbeat, without a doubt. We need to understand. This is very important because, just listening to what, STR was saying back then, online platforms, how, and the people of Chicago, how much they love Fangio, the players love Fangio, how much he stuck up for his players, which is diametrically different than the picture that Cecil Lammey wants to paint, right? That that Fangio's a selfish coach, right, and all this.
Yes.
What this is what's really important is the state of the Denver Broncos now, and especially at that time. Gary Coop. The idea was when they were getting candidates. What was in John Elway? We got to keep going back. When I was going through the Mile High Huddle, through all their archives for 2 years, just looking, watching, looking what they were talking about. I mean, massive amounts of a waste of time data, number one. Number two, how, like, for instance, they were just putting Justin Simmons up on a pedestal. But let's go back even a little further, where they're admitting that, they're in constant contact with Dove Valley, their PR department, getting material on different coaches and whatnot. So are accusing them of Dove Valley talking points is spot on. Because they're right there. I mean, and I think they honestly believe, well, if we're getting it from them, and it's got to be God's lips to everybody's ears, that there can't be a counter narrative out there. Okay. So what I'm trying to say is I want, as we're blowing up the coach, not the offensive coordinator, this goes why most likely they're going to keep the shithead offensive coordinator that we have, right? Gary Kubiak, if you go back in time, John Elway was under the assumption, no question, Kubiak was going to be the offensive coordinator. Chuck Pagano was one of the coaches that was interviewed for the job that Fangio ended up getting. And after he got whiff of what was going on at Dove Valley, he actually said, no. So we actually had one guy that said, no. But Fangio signed on to the idea that, and again, if you go back, it wasn't just me. It was Sports Talk Radio coming out with 2 head coaches, okay? This idea of 2 head coaches, and I'll play my rant on that. I said there's only one head coach, and that's John Elway. So I'm going to provide what they said, also about Shermer too, and all the bombs away, Drew Lock, all that stuff. Okay, he whispers in coaches and he whispers in quarterbacks' ears and turns them into high performance quarterbacks. So that whole narrative that he's a high performance offensive coordinator. So going back to Gary Kubiak, Gary Kubiak said, about his guys, that he wanted his guys. If he was going to be the OC, he wanted his guys. And Dove Valley tried to spin this as, well, that's not Fangio's guys. Let me ask you something. Was Vick Fangio, was he interviewing Mike Munchak to be an offensive line coach? Just asking you, Colby. You tell me.
I don't think so.
Well, how could he be? Because Munchak, it's impossible. I'm just here to tell you that. It's impossible because Mike Munchak was being interviewed as a candidate for head coach by John Elway. So how could he be in the interview process with Mike Munchak when he himself was in an interview process? How? It was Mike, when Vick Fangio was hired, John Elway decided and had talked and had been in talks with Mike Munchak, and Mike Munchak wanting to get out of Pittsburgh because of Ben Roethlisberger and his shit that was going on at the time. He offered him, and I'll agree with Elway. I think personally, I'd probably rather have Mike Munchak than Rick Dennison. But that's what the issue was. Again, they put it on Fangio. It wasn't one of Fangio's people. And I'll dispel that myth even further. When Kubiak said, well, John, if I'm not even able to get my people, you already are making the decision. Let me also go with this, because Kubiak's talking to John Elway, saying, you're telling me I can't have my own people, a la Rick Dennison, over Mike Munchak. Okay. If you go back into Mile High Huddle's archive, all during 2019 and before that, it was every time there was any kind of a draft, any kind of a free agent acquisition, John Elway plastered him all over his face. Oh, he did such a good job getting this guy. Did such a good job doing it. Okay. You're going to tell me, honestly, this guy, obsessed with total control, was going to just say, I'm just stepping back. I'm just stepping back. I'm just stepping back. You really think that's what was going on this year with George Paton? Just please. I mean, come on. So when Gary Kubiak said, I'm out of here, I don't think Elway really thought he was going to do it. They'd already gotten Joe Flacco. And the idea was Gary Kubiak's going to do with you. And I think that he told Joe Flacco this too. I think he told Joe Flacco that Gary Kubiak was, you're going to get the guy that was, working with Peyton Manning. And when all that went out the door, when Gary Kubiak left for Minnesota, well, just left. I don't know if it was an immediate to Minnesota, but he said, no, I'm not going to take this OC. So they scrambled. And if you remember, Colby, that they were begging Kyle Shanahan to release Scandrell. Am I wrong in that?
No, you're absolutely right.
Because they were in a desperate situation to get somebody, because they told Joe Flacco, hey, we got a guy that runs your system. Fangio, don't worry. Me and Kubiak, we've done this before. Don't. All you have to do is worry about the defense. And I said that. And while everybody was getting into all this, how good he is with Fangio is with players and stuff, I said, wait a minute. This something's not right here. Something isn't right. And then Sports Talk Radio, right before the exit of Kubiak, they were talking about dual head coaches. Fangio would be the head coach of the defense, and Kubiak would be the head coach of the offense. They put that out. And I said, there's only one head coach. There's only one head coach. Also was looking at my time capsule. I went after Sandy Clough for praising John Elway for 2015, praising him for all that. And I said, whoa. I said, you're cutting out a lot of people out of that equation. And you're giving him far too much credit. Way too much credit. But that's another subject. I just want to say that I went back in the archives, and I just it's important to run this by you, because I want to get your take on going back in time. It's very important we go back in time and find out where we are. We're going to be stuck, it looks like, with Shermer. It kind of looks that way. So what I think is that when that whole thing blew up in Elway's face, like everything blows up in Elway's face. We all know that. Everything, and this whole Fangio, getting rid of Fangio is going to ultimately, and this is why I bring this up, is going to ultimately blow up in the Bronco, the faithful, their face, as usual. I just want to go back and just how did we get here? What really, just all the Mickey Mouse crap as to where we are now. I just want to go over it, because going back and looking at who said what was going on, I think is very important. Give me your take on what points I'm trying to make.
I think the points that you're trying to make is that ultimately what you made this channel to be like, and you're tired of the bullshit. And you made this channel to be truthful. And you made this channel to call out the bullshit in the organization, which ultimately falls on John Elway. And the bullshit in this organization continues to revolve around John Elway. There's not a day that goes by that I don't believe that he has left this organization. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think he's involved in this organization. He's involved in this organization behind the scenes, very hands-on approach. And I just want to say this to STR and the people that are praising John Elway, especially for that 2015 run. People refuse to forget that was the last reminiscence of a Pat Bowlen Broncos team that had player personnel built over the past 3 to 4 years before Peyton Manning arrived. And they, guys like Adam Peters, guys like Pat Bowlen, guys like Wade Phillips, and even guys like Garrett Kubiak were, the driving force, and John Fox as well, were the main driving forces behind this whole operation that went on in 2015. Now going after 2015, to answer your question, I'm not surprised that this happened, because I agree with everything you just said. Everything that you just said, I agree on, because this is what happens when you don't have an owner in the organization, aka Pat Bowlen. When you have a guy named John Elway who is so hands-on and doesn't want to be hands-off approach, and wants to be involved in every little aspect of the team and do it his way and be the Broncos that he envisioned. Yet you guys don't understand the true aspects of what goes on behind the NFL, especially behind closed doors. And behind closed doors in Dove Valley, let's just say this. You said that you felt that Gary Kubiak's offense was outdated. I don't think so, because in 2015, I don't think that he had the right player personnel to run that type of offense. Peyton Manning wasn't that traditional play action pass, bootleg type of quarterback. He was more of the shotgun type of air-rated quarterback. And what did John Elway do? He got away from that and let's put a square peg in a round hole. That's what's going to make Elway. That's what's going to make Peyton Manning thrive ultimately in that 2015 season. But what made that offense thrive was Peyton Manning down the stretch, making smart decisions, and that defense playing phenomenal with that front seven, providing that push up the middle. And that offensive line, don't forget, that offensive line was pretty damn good, especially the interior of the offensive line with guys like Evan Mathis, Matt Paradis, and guys like Luis Vasquez, who Elway got rid of Luis Vasquez for I don't know why, because he was playing his butt off. But to go off of your point, this whole double head coach thing, I knew it wasn't going to work, and I knew Gary Kubiak wanted to get out of Dodge because Gary Kubiak didn't have the say even when he was a head coach. It was all John Elway's show, mate. It was all his show. And during America's game, who do you really think that Peyton Manning was flipping off? You really think he was flipping off Gary Kubiak, or do you think he was flipping off John Elway? He was flipping off John Elway, and people forget that. Peyton Manning was happy to retire after that 2015 season because his skills diminished, obviously. And then on top of that, he wanted to get away from this organization because he knew how toxic it was going to get. You saw when Gary Kubiak went to Minnesota, he had success. And now his son Clint Kubiak is doing the exact same offense, and that offense is having success up there in Minnesota. So this whole thing with Pat Shurmur wanting to keep him around, and Cecil Lammey saying that Vick Fangio's kissing up to George Paton and being manipulative as Vick Fangio is, Vick Fangio will be happy to get fired because he knows that he can get hired by 31 other teams out there.
Well, not only that, but I don't know with his age how head coaching. I mean, he could do 2 years somewhere, and I don't think anybody would look at Denver as an absolute example of what he could do as a head coach. I don't even know if this just totally put a sour taste in his mouth. Kubiak didn't want to be a head coach anymore either, and that probably had to do with Elway being there. I think big time.
I agree because he didn't have the.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I say it follows the timeline. Where Pat Bowlen really dropped out and John Elway really takes over. That's when he says, "Oh, I'm taking time off. I don't want to be a head coach." He doesn't want anything to do with John Elway as a head coach. Be a head coach with John Elway running anything. And I think that Elway told Kubiak a bunch of shit that he was never going to promises he couldn't keep. And that then he gets because I think that whole getting rid of Wade Phillips probably wasn't something. I don't think that was a big. I would say that Kubiak wouldn't be a big fan of that. And this whole Vance Joseph yes man thing. I think that's what Chuck Pagano saw too. I don't think that that was something that Kubiak wanted anything to do with at the end of the day. So he said, well, and obviously Kubiak brought the point up to make a point, said, well, I wasn't allowed to bring my own guys in. I don't believe that Fangio had any say in the offense. Well, like I was saying, who was doing the interview with Mike Munchak? It was Elway. I call him Mooncheck, but just kind of as a joke, Mooncheck. And you're going to love these old tapes of mine, Fangio, okay? But I think he was telling Gary Kubiak some stories. And when he said, well, I would rather have Mike Munchak and this. He said, no, you're already meddling, Fangio was already stuck. He had been brought on. And so they scrambled. They were stuck with Flacco. And they promised him, I'm sure that you're going to be working with Gary Kubiak. Okay, I'll sign. Well, no, you're going to be working with Rich Cantrell. He's like, what? And I'm sure Rich Scandrell was brought here and then realized what this whole scenario was. And Rich Scandrell probably realized he was just a bridge OC from the get-go. And he probably knew as soon as Joe Flacco went, that was going to be it. Go ahead.
I agree with you, especially to the point where you keep saying Kubiak wanted to get out of Dodge. I think a lot of coaches in this organization want to get out of Dodge, especially Fangio, Mike Munchak. The list goes on and on and on. I don't think anybody in their right mind wants to come to an organization with Elway running it. We've seen that over the past 5 to 6 years, especially. And Sandy Clough praising John Elway, it's just par for the course. Wash, rinse, repeat with these people. I don't take anything that they say seriously. Mile High Huddle is just the perfect example of another. It's a branch from the Dove Valley PR machine. They say that they don't get their information from Dove Valley. I think.
Whoa! Stop! They actually said that?
I believe that's what they think.
Okay. Because I was listening to them talk about. There's a video they have. It's an insider. It's a Chicago insider. Another STR in Chicago talking to them about Vick Fangio. And in the very beginning, they said that they got with the PR department for the Broncos and was given all this literature. So they obviously have a rapport. There's obviously some sort of a connection, a history that they have with the front office and the PR department. They said so themselves. So
and for people to criticize us, you just can go back to our track record, because our track record speaks for itself. And then go to Mile High Huddle's track record when they were saying that that they brought Shermer in to go in 20-plus yards, and then this past offseason they said they never said that. And then they said that Stafford was going to be a shoo-in for the Denver Broncos. That's just two examples of stuff that I could just point out, which we called bullshit on. And, we're continue to be proven right once, right and right again. My apologies. But this whole thing with Vick Fangio, guys, I'm telling you, he's going to go somewhere else and have success because he's probably going to go to a proper organization and he's going to have the free reign to get players that he wants to fit his system. Guys like Justin Simmons, for example, are total liabilities out there for Vick Fangio's defense. I mean, I went back and saw the game again, I was just so shocked that people think that this guy's a top 5 safety in the league, especially Denver Bronco fans.
Well,
you guys must be totally brain.
They're the only ones that do. So
yeah. It's absolutely absurd that you guys think that this guy's a top 5 safety, and you think that Draymond Jones and Shelby Harris are pillars for that defensive line. I don't know what you're watching. I don't know if you're playing Madden 22, but something's got to change in this organization, and we got to get this cancer and STR out of this organization. It's terrible.
Yeah, and I'll welcome the criticism. Whoever comes in and they start criticizing, I'll welcome that. Yep. It's long overdue. It's long overdue. I know they'll be shocked once they get rid of Simmons. They get rid of all this dead weight around here that they praise. But that'll be very comforting to me as well.
Well, what's very comforting to me is that I just love STR eating themselves alive in terms of why have they not fired Fangio yet? It's absolutely ridiculous pulling their head out, hitting their head against the wall. It brings me great joy to hear that STR and Mile High Huddle are just perplexed why we haven't fired Fangio yet. It's coming. It's coming. Just hold your horses. I mean, it's coming here. It's coming down the pipeline. I guarantee you we hear something Sunday or Monday, one of those in the next 48 hours.
Well, that's because they have such a high quality head coach coming in here.
Yeah, like Dan Quinn and Kellen Moore.
Kellen Moore. I don't think even Kellen Moore wants anything to do with this place.
But just to name 3 coaches, I think, actually 2, Bill O'Brien and Dan Quinn. I'm telling you, look out for those coaches.
Bill O'Brien.
Big Tyler Polumbus said that Dan Quinn would be the perfect head coach.
That's got to be coming from Dove Valley. That has to be coming from Dove Valley. And let me ask you, were the other online platforms throwing out the Quinn?
Yep.
You have not seen nothing like the mighty Quinn.
No, absolutely. Wait till we get him.
Well, these are the same people that were singing the praises of Vick Fangio.
And weren't they singing the praises of Tom McMahon?
Yeah. Well, yeah, because Tom McMahon actually did have a track record. So did Vick Fangio. They ruined those guys out here. Now they're just bums.
Yeah, and so did Mike Munchak. He had a track record.
But I'm telling you, they're going to bring in somebody that's fireable. that they can turn around and say, "Oh my God, we got a new owner. Get rid of all this. Get rid of this. This was all from Fangio, the new head coach. All that's from Fangio. I guarantee you, they're going to say that. That's going to be there."
And another thing I want to point out is they say that Fangio doesn't like Drew Lock. I think that's total bullshit because we all know that he doesn't have a hands-on approach on this offense. He's strictly a defensive coordinator. And for STR and Mile High Huddle to lie to your fans like that, you guys must be ashamed of yourselves. Because really, you think that Vick Fangio tosses and turns at night worrying about the Kansas City offense that you guys said that was going to be going vertical and 20-plus yards, and then you come out the next year and say that you never said that? So, seriously, like, be authentic to your audience. That's all I ask. Stop lying to your people.
Well, they got to keep towing the line. That's what's important. But this is why I want to go back in time about, this whole idea that Vic Fangio had anything to do with the offense. And it was the same people that said, well, with Gary Kubiak, we'll have two head coaches. And I said, you see, I came out and said it first that he was hired strictly, and I'll link my videos. There's the part 1 and 2 was before he got hired. I talked about, well, they're just looking for a defensive coordinator because they realized it was a mistake to get rid of Wade Phillips. And I think that was a mistake that Kubiak said, "John, I told you. Oh, don't worry, we'll get the guy." And they did. They talked. Fangio saying, "Well, you're going to be able to work with Gary Kubiak, Super Bowl 50." You said they like to bring up Super Bowl 50. Super Bowl 50. And then he walks. Then all of a sudden they get Scandrello, and Vic Fangio's like, "What the hell is going on?" And I'll take care of it. He doesn't toss and turn about Kansas City. "John Elway, this is your mess. You take care of it. Do whatever it is you want to do." So he gets Shermer. And it should be no surprise that if they just are ready to move on from Fangio and Shermer stays, it shouldn't become a surprise to anybody whose hire that really was. Who still has a name on his desk in the office besides Peyton? Who else there still has the name? I would like to get it. If I had anything, I would like to have a surprise tour, not one that they schedule, but one that I can just pop in and just see who's in the front office in 6 months from now, 7 months from now.
I think that's a good point because you really think that Elway's going to go out that easily? No.
He's all about kicking and screaming.
He's all about kicking and screaming, and he's all about that PR bullshit spin that he wants to be the next owner of the Denver Broncos, be part of an ownership group, which the NFL does not want and the 31 other owners do not want. And I'm really hoping that we get an owner that comes out of nowhere and buys this team and just gets rid of the cancer and lets George Paton do his job. Because you know what? For all the criticism I've seen out of George Paton right now, I am willing to give him a chance more than I'm going to give Elway another chance, because I've seen Elway just continuously disintegrate this organization for the past 6 to 7 years, and I'm tired of it.
With a whole fan base cheering its destruction.
The John Elway apologists that call in the Sandy Clough show and that spew this bullshit nonsense that he was the main culprit for Super Bowl 50, and then you have the fans and other videos that we have been pretty much truthful on in terms of what's going to go on during these games, come on here and criticize us for being authentic and being different. And at the end of the day, we speak Martian to those people, and we have an audience that actually understands us, and we're starting to get people more and more. And for all the people that just decided just to give us the finger and say we don't know what we're talking about, I just want to know where your guys are at now. I understand that you guys listen to STR and all that. That's totally fine with me. But don't come up here and tell me that, John Elway is the main reason that we won Super Bowl 50, because that's such bullshit. That's such bullshit.
Did you notice that we lost the people that were going to tell us
Tell us like it is. Yeah, we lost 4 subscribers in 2 weeks.
Yeah, because we didn't make the playoffs. I was
Yeah.
expecting that.
Yeah, I know. I was expecting them to come on. And it's funny, against the Sweller Dweller Lions, against the JV team, they came us and told us how it was. And then you have Mile High Huddle saying that the Raiders is going to be a shoo-in game for the Denver Broncos. And look how that turned out. Look how that, in the Chargers, and the Bengals, and now the Chiefs. And the Chiefs are going to be playing all.
Philadelphia. That was supposed to be see, they're delusional. They think they have the talent, and everybody from around the league says the problem is you just don't have enough talent around, key players and this kind of thing. They get it. Bronco fans, they think they're just a quarterback away, and they're going to get a lesson next year.
And
they're going to this offseason, they're going to get a lesson. It's not going to they're going to be very upset. But
and you put out something on the comments section about Fox Sports, about Elway paying these people, and I sent you an article about, they think we're just the outside, the national media thinks we're a quarterback away, and there is no way in God's green earth, that I believe we are a quarterback away. We are so far below the grail that we do not have proper offense and defensive line play. Both these lines are bottom 5 units, and that goes to your point about this turnstile that we want to go back in the past. This is exactly what has happened to both these lines that Elway forgets to just address because he can only see corners, he can only see receivers, that he forgets to address what Pat Bowlen made true, which is offense and defensive line play. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Well, the problem too is it's not just the core player personnel; it's also the dysfunction at the front office.
That's true.
The front office is, like you said, they created a bunch of players that have no business being where they are, have no business being paid the way they are, and
then the players listen to that stuff, and then they yell at their coaches for their shitty play. And it's not, and me and you, especially and I've sent you videos behind the scenes, but you're the one that puts it on the channel. I've sent you video of Justin Simmons just absolutely getting destroyed, and there's me saying that, well, he's not trying, and then I go back and look to what you're saying. This guy absolutely, he's trying, he just sucks. And how did he deserve that 4-year, $61 million contract? I don't get that. And we give players all this money.
He's an NFL spokesperson. He's getting paid as a spokesperson, is what he is.
I get that, but that can only take you so far in this business. So, but anyway, we get like with the Cody Rourke guy. He said that we give these guys that don't deserve the money, and then we let guys like Billy Turner and Derek Wolfe and Danny Trevathan, Malik Jackson, Chris Harris, Sandy Genovich, and Emmanuel Sanders, all these players.
Philip Lindsay.
Yeah, Philip Lindsay, and we just let them go. And that's why I agree with you about the point about the coaches. But to me, this goes deeper than the coaches. This goes directly to the organization who is at the center of it, and that's John Elway and the trust.
You just named the video. This goes deeper than the head coach, than the coaching. This goes deeper than the coaching. Thank you. I couldn't figure out. Yeah, this goes deeper than the coaching. Absolutely. But we had a look. I wanted to take a stroll through memory lane for people to understand why we are where we are, what really happened.
This is the channel that told you the truth from the beginning, and you guys just wanted to go party your asses off below deck. And then when I came on, we were the watchmen and telling you, look out, there's an iceberg coming.
Iceberg's ahead.
and no, don't listen to those two morons. Oh, don't listen to Grandpa Joe and his grandson here. Don't listen
Papa Bear and his
Dungeon and Dragons, Chicken Little, just all the above.
Oh yeah. See where that got you?
Yeah.
And they had a describe because we didn't make the playoffs, just like we told you they weren't going to, and Vick Fangio was going to get fired. This would be the year. What happened to our defense? Huh?
You guys ready to lose that defensive identity now? And now you're going to have no offensive identity. So,
well, they don't have one anyway. Especially if they keep Shermer, they're just going to keep that non-identity going.
You know what? I should have said this right when I said defensive identity, but like I said, this goes deeper than the coaches. We don't even have an organizational identity at all. Our organizational identity and culture absolutely is a bottom 3 type of culture in the league. It's the worst. It's bad.
Well, there's no owner. Number one, they got Elway behind the scenes. This is why I'm doing this video, to explain the meddling he was doing behind the scenes. When Vick Fangio was getting hired, as Kubiak had enough of it and left, what is Dove Valley what's gonna come out of Dove Valley? What do you think they're gonna say? Oh, Vick Fangio fired. I've got my video. I said 2 weeks. I'm sorry, 2 days. 2 days before Kubiak leaves, I said, just a question, and I got attacked by big time. Like, you're crazy. Oh my God. I said, could Fangio fire Kubiak? Is Kubiak fireable? That was my question. Is Kubiak fireable? And everybody said that's just insane. You can't. And he leaves. He's gone, just like that. And then everybody was. And I really do think Dove Valley was just with their jaw, on the floor when he walked out the door. I don't believe they expected that. I think they were scrambling to get anybody they could, and that's why they got Rich Scangarello. Rich Scangarello was never, ever the plan. Lockwood got sucked up into all that. He was never never a consideration. Maybe to make Scangarello feel like he was actually a OC. He says, this is what I need if you want to run the system. Okay, Elway says, okay. They get Fant. They pick Drew Lock.
Reisner.
Yeah, I need this kind of a guard. And then you're out of here. I'm on the phone. Oh, they're going to fire Shermer. I could get Shermer because nobody else wants him. That's the part of the equation nobody wants to talk about either.
No, nobody.
Wait a second. Wait a second. Mile High Huddle was going on and on and on. I'm gonna link it about Shermer. But we played all the fans like us and all the things that they had to say about Shermer, and they were just done, so done with him. So done with him. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. You just answered my question when it came to that. I just don't understand. This whole thing it's wash, rinse, repeat. It's gonna happen again. Wash, rinse, repeat. And I'm gonna have to come on here and I'm gonna have to speak Martian again to these people, and they're just gonna be like, what? And until we get a real owner that pisses off and that pisses off the John Elway apologists, this organization won't do crap until we get that resolved. And I just don't understand why, and another thing, STR just loves to blame Joe Ellis. That's their go-to, not John Elway. It's all Joe Ellis's fault.
He can go too in my book.
He can go too, but he's just a stepping stone for John Elway.
You don't say a word about John Al Davis Elway ever. There'll be a shrine. There's a shrine for him. He's untouchable. That's why he has to go.
And I think
that's why I don't want Manning. Manning's untouchable too. I don't want anybody who's untouchable.
I don't want I just want a guy that comes out of nowhere.
Well, that's what Bolin did. He came out, and believe me, it was like freak out, man. A Canadian? Oh, and that was the big thing. Oh, God, a Canadian bought our fucking team. A Canadian. Turned out to be a good thing. Sometimes, but he was out of the blue, out of nowhere. But he was an oil guy, and I don't know if whatchamacallit, Kaiser, there was some kind of connection at that time, some sort of I know somebody, but I tell you what though, I'm really, really interested in this Kaiser lawsuit thing still. I'm really interested in that. Media here, it's like, oh, this is an open shut case. But when the judge talked about it, she said, man, this is a very complicated case. Complicated does not equal open and shut. I just want to tell you that. Complicated, and that's out of the judge. It's not me coming up. The judge that's we're going to rule on this said it's complicated. So
and to Cecil Lammy and Nick Ferguson, stop going on your channel and say that you tell the truth. Seriously, you guys are just absolutely far from it. I don't want to hear it from you guys in Mile High Huddle. I don't want to hear that you guys are telling the truth and that you guys are authentic as all can be, because you guys are not authentic as all can be, because you guys have been proven to be total bull, absolute shit.
It's just bad radio all the way around.
I hope when we get an owner, those guys can go be other fans for some other team, because I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it.
Isn't Lammy ultimately a Steeler fan? I don't know. Maybe not.
He is.
That's what I thought. I thought it was something like that.
Yeah, go be a fan for the Steelers.
Yeah, I mean, I know of people in the media here, and they're from all over the place. I myself had been in the media when I was in New York. There's people covering the Giants, the Bills, these guys, the Jets, and they were rooting for other teams. So even though they were covering them as a sports person, so maybe sometimes that would be good if you're you're objective.
If you're authentic, that's all I ask. If you're authentic.
Yeah, I don't think I'm agnostic anymore.
Exactly, but if you don't, just stop lying. That's all I ask. I don't like people that lie to their audience, and then they dupe them to buying merch and for them to just push their agenda more and more and more. That's lying to your audience.
Well, you should get somebody who's not connected, and we're not connected. And it's just like I think I just wrote a comment to somebody that I was talking about Hinton. I was watching the film and I saw Hinton, like he put his arms up like that so he wouldn't block, and he let the guy go through who tackled Albert O, which resulted into a 0 touchdown.
What a great play design by Shermer.
Well, the play design was fine if the guy would have threw a block. Again, there's times I can't blame.
But again, I'm telling you, those are the players that Elway keeps. I'm telling you, those are Elway players.
No, yeah, no, I know. Believe me, I'm there too. And that's the thing about Shermer as well. I can't understand half the stuff he does and why he does it. I don't know. Just to be honest with you, because of the player personnel, the fact that the top screws around with the player personnel, I just wonder what Shermer, as fucked up as he is, what he would do with some better core players, just out of curiosity. Just out of curiosity.
I mean, he did have better core players in Philadelphia, and he couldn't do anything.
Well, that's not what Mile High Huddle said. They were saying that he whispers in quarterbacks' ears, and they turn into Madden 22 stat giants.
Yeah, just like they said that Matthew Stafford was a shoo-in for the Broncos.
Yeah, well, that's because Dove Valley gave him that talking point. And that goes back to stop fucking lying through your teeth. But, hey, it's hopium. You say we got a chance to get Aaron Rodgers. They float up to the ceiling.
Well, you know what? They're a bunch of morons, so.
I know if you just keep listening to that shit over and over and over, you kind of are,
Yep.
So I just thought I wanted to bring up before they shit can Fangio and get the next people they're going to fire, because they'll all want them fired after next year. What's that? Wash, rinse, repeat. Wash, rinse, repeat. Correct. I just wanted a little history lesson. So today was a history lesson. We go back to when Fangio was hired, and we go and look under the hood and look at everything that was going on. Why are we where we're at today? That's all. That's all. I got to go.
Me too.
All right. Take care.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye.